Before we proceed tonight, I'd like to discuss the rules of the debate. First off, each candidate will have the opportunity to respond to each question posed. I will knock when there are 30 seconds remaining in the time you have allotted to respond. Each response is to be kept to 1 minute and 30 seconds. The format of this debate will have opening statements, we'll have prepared questions that we will ask you, we also will take questions from the audience, and finally your closing statements. Now, prior to the debate, we flipped a coin in order to determine who would respond to the questions first. Mr. Suggs won the coin toss and has elected to answer the questions first. He will also therefore give his opening statement first, and at this time, Mr. Suggs, if you will, please address the audience and explain why you are the best candidate to be the Richmond College Student Government Association President. Mics are continuously hot.
Okay, so first off, I would like to thank Kyle and President Groves for having me today. No mic needed. Also, I'm very grateful for you guys for being able to come out here today. It shows that you all are actually caring about what your student government is doing. As a matter of fact, that's the whole reason I ran. This time last year, I had always kind of wondered what exactly did we do as a student government as being a student that was not a part of that. And the major thing that I ran for was a call for transparency so that students knew what, when, where, and how their student government functioned. And in line with that promise, I was able to do weekly update videos, a series of those that total now to almost 4 hours of footage, but I still think we can do better. This week I've got to sit with some of you and hear some of your different concerns, and I've seen that they're very complex issues, from parking to different events for diversity, for that whole notion of transparency. But something I noticed in that complexity was a beautiful simplicity. I'm reminded of a Winston Churchill quote that says, "Intense complexities often emerge intense simplicities." And I'm here to tell you guys that the solutions to a lot of the problems we face, while not easy, are simple in nature. And I intend to do just that, to have a simple and focused solutions that I hope you all will hear tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Suggs. At this time, Matt Logan, if you would please give your opening statements as to why you would be the best candidate for the Richmond College Student Government Association President.
First, I'd like to thank you all for your time and consideration. By being here, you're making an investment in the future of the university and of Richmond College, and I think that's extremely admirable. You're also in great luck. I'd like to think that you have two incredible candidates standing up here. Angelo is one of the greatest students I've ever met, and regardless of the results of this election, I look forward to our continued collaboration in the future. I do, however, want to highlight what I believe sets me apart in this election. In this brief time, I'd like to discuss my commitment and knowledge of the university, as well as my ability to portray myself and my ability to command a room. First and foremost, I believe that I've been heavily involved on campus since day one. Becoming involved in RCSGA as a freshman class chair and continuing that commitment till this day, involving myself in athletics and performing arts, on-campus employment, programming boards, becoming a tour guide, maintaining my commitment to academic excellence. I feel as though there's no better person on this campus that knows the ins and outs of this campus. I have relationships with many administrators, I understand the decision-making processes, and know what avenues I need to pursue in order to get things done efficiently and effectively. I'm not someone who will need to be trained, I'm ready. Secondly, these leadership opportunities have also trained me on how to develop an organization, serve as a leader to committees, and interact with superiors to voice student opinions in an appropriate but convincing manner. I truly believe that I'm the right person to lead the RCSGA to run efficiently, to truly progress the mission and vision of the university, and to connect student voices to our new president, our new provost, and our board of trustees, who are truly the ones making the decisions. We are in a very special time here at the university. With a new president, an ever-improving reputation, and a determined student body, I believe that I can continue to launch this organization and our university in the right direction. I am truly proud to be a Spider and would love to represent the university in this capacity of Richmond College Student Government Association President. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. At this time, we are going to move on to the prepared questions. Again, just a reminder, you'll each have 1 minute and 30 seconds to respond. Angelo, you are the first person to respond to the question. So our first question tonight. In your opinion, what is the single biggest issue that the university and the student governments will have to address over the next year?
All right, yeah, that's gone for the night. So one of the things, that's a good question. With the big issues, literally all of the things that I found to be problems, and even some of the solutions that I've gathered, have come from just speaking with students. The two major ones that seem to come up are, one, transparency, is knowing what your student's government can do so that you all even know what problems can be addressed. And the second one, which has plagued us, so to speak, for far too long, is parking. And going back to that notion of parking being a complex problem and simple solutions, I would say that with anything, you would have to have some specific student concerns that are gathered. As of right now, all the administration knows is that students have a problem with parking. What I would do under my administration and working with the student government is go to students and get specific, detailed concerns about what your parking problems and concerns are so that we can submit something very specific to the administration so we know which issues to tackle and to address. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Angelo. Now, Mr. Logan, if you would please address the same question. You have 1 minute and 30 seconds.
I believe the biggest thing that we need to do as a student government is to form a vision. We need to form a vision that is in line with our missions and values of the university, and we need to present that from a student perspective to our president and to our provost. There are plenty of these smaller problems that actually do have solutions, currently working on them. I know parking specifically, our campus master plan as it stands is trying to come up with parking solutions already. But I think that where we are effective as a university is when we have a vision. I think the most recent light of that is our Richmond Guarantee, guaranteeing our students $4,000 for summer internships. I think having that vision and having that goal is the best thing that we can do as an organization, as our student government, and as administrators. I think moving forward, taking the student voice and really determining what we want the university to look like in 5 years, what we want our degree to stand for in 10, 15 years. I think that's going to be the most important thing moving into this new administration. Thank you.
And Mr. Suggs, you had about 20 seconds remaining on your time if you care to respond to Mr. Logan's response, and Matthew, you will also have the remaining 25 seconds to respond as well.
Thank you. I'd just like to continue on with what I was saying about the notion that tonight I can't promise you any grandiose visions, but I do believe in simplicity and focus. And I would say that I've already been meeting with Dr. Bassesi every week, the Vice President of Student Development, and we've spoken upon the notion of having a detailed parking plan. It's something that can be done and is very possible. It's something that is in motion, and I would love to continue that effort with the leverage of being president.
Mr. Logan, you have about 25 seconds.
I have no further remarks.
No further. All right, so moving on to the second question. Angelo, as you know, it is an incredibly important time of leadership transition for the university. How will you approach establishing a relationship with President-elect Crutcher as he identifies ways to continue to elevate the University of Richmond?
This past week, I actually had the pleasure of shaking hands with Dr. Crutcher and looking at him eye to eye. And one of the things that I could just tell by listening to his speech and also talking to him directly was that he's somebody who wants to come in and bring a new vision of mastery to the university. And I would say, what do I mean by that? Well, he's somebody himself who has had that music background, and you can tell that he's someone who's had to perfect his craft over time. I would love to work alongside him with that new transition, being somebody who's had to come into student government, for example, as someone's new and taking on a leadership role. I believe that we have that type of symmetry to be able to work together and say, okay, we've got a great Richmond Guarantee, a great vision that we're working on now under President Ayers, but meeting with him very specifically and saying, all right, so how are we going to take this Richmond vision that we have, this Richmond promise, and expand upon it within these next coming years? So I'm excited to work with Dr. Crutcher, and I would say that I just think that it is a new time of change for the university. A lot of great things are on the way.
Thank you. Matthew, if you could please address the same question.
Yeah, do you mind repeating the question? Just so
Absolutely. As you know, it is an incredibly important time of leadership transition for the university. How will you approach establishing a relationship with President-elect Crutcher as he identifies ways to continue to elevate the University of Richmond?
Yeah, so like Angelo, I as well attended the President's speech last Friday and thought that he did a wonderful job. I really think that he's going to do a great job in representing this university. I think the biggest thing, I also sent out an email to Dr. Crutcher, which he graciously responded to. He's an incredible guy. I really do encourage you guys to get to know him if you have the opportunity. The biggest thing in forming a relationship with Dr. Crutcher is I want it to be a very collaborative effort. I know that in Dr. Crutcher coming in, he doesn't necessarily have a select vision, but he really is waiting for the student concerns. And so I know that he is someone who is waiting to hear what the students need, and I'm really happy to fulfill that role. I really want to make sure that I'm in discussions with Dr. Crutcher and Dr. Federo, our new provost. I actually served on the provost selection committee, so I feel like as though I have a good in talking with her and forming a relationship already with her, which can help me form a relation further with Dr. Crutcher. I also truly believe that I'm someone that can step into a room with people of that stature, with people that are in power, and feel like I am confident in voicing my opinions and can advocate for students thoroughly and effectively. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Angelo, you have about 15 seconds if you wish to rebut or continue your statement.
No further remarks.
All right, moving on then. Question number 3. Angelo, how would you, as RCSGA president, garner student input and opinions to bolster the function of the RCSGA? In other words, how will you make the RCSGA more visible and accessible by the students?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say one of the things that I think is very crucial is, first off, to build on the efforts that we've already done. In terms of knowing who we are, I was able to speak with Joe Hahn of Forum magazine over the summer and collaborate with him in his effort to get a front page story and a pull-out issue for student government that actually detailed who we are and what we did and the like. I would also say that in getting student input, I think it's very crucial that students are able to go and attend some of the different forums that we have. We had some very important forums this year. We had the one establishing the criteria for the new president. We had the one with the new provost addressing the academic concerns. And hey, on my end, I know you guys are busy. I'm a spider too. You guys may not have an extra 2 hours out of your day to go and sit maybe in one spot. So what I would like to do is to work towards having a live feed of the forum so that students are able to have it wherever they go. That's just one step. And another step is extending the notion of students being able to create a culture within student government that we go and actively address the students other than days just as the food trucks. Those are the days you see us out there. I want us to create that culture where we're sitting at your table every day. And I believe I've done that. This year I made a promise with myself. I sat at D Hall at a different table every day from the start of this year, listening to students of different backgrounds and just doing life with them.
All right, Matthew, would you like me to repeat the question, or are you ready to address that?
I am ready. So let's start right now. For all of you guys who don't know, student government meetings are open every Wednesday to any student that is on campus. So there you go. But truly, as president, there are a couple things that I think are really tangible that I would like to do in order to push our visibility outward. One is I want to form a new position within the Student Government Association that deals strictly with campus outreach to our organizations. We have a ton of really great organizations and opportunities on campus, and they operate a little bit like silos, and it's hard for some organizations to communicate with others or for there to be collaboration on different projects. So what I'd like to do is form a new position so that there's one person specifically who's reaching out to different organizations, forming a newsletter, and then blasting that back out to all the presidents of those organizations. So every single person who's involved in an organization has that information and is ready to go. The next thing that I really want to do is have standard office hours for our senators, allowing senators to be very visible, whether it's a space in the library that we set up weekly, daily, whatever that may be, but just making sure that it's known that we are here and we're ready to listen. The third thing is I personally will reach out to any individual on campus and invite you. Weekly, I will look to invite at least 5 people that have never been to an RCSGA meeting and make sure that they can come in and make sure that they know that they're always welcome. Thank you.
Great, thank you, gentlemen. Moving on to our fourth question. Why did you decide to attend the University of Richmond? Yes, Angelo.
Oh, I'm starting off the whole thing? That's
Yes.
fine, that's fine. All right, so one of the reasons that I decided to attend University of Richmond, and I can remember it just as plain as day. I was in my game room. We have like a game man cave at my house, and University of Richmond was playing this team called George Washington. And I always remember saying, you know, when you're a kid and you're playing 2K or NCAA, I would always go across the spider and say, that spider, I can never see myself going there. But later on, as I began to, you know, of course, mature past that, I saw University of Richmond as a great place. It had always been a long-time dream of mine to play college basketball. It was around the time where the big hype around the Sweet 16 was going, and I was able to actually say, come on campus and check it out for the basketball camp. I got invited to their elite camp. And I got the invitation, and let's just say, when I got there, I found out that D1 basketball was not in my future. Those guys were on another level. So I was kind of crushed by that because you always have something planned along. But my dad simply said, why don't you try it for academics? I realized it was a great school for political science, which I want to study, not too far from DC, Richmond being the capital. I love this ratio that we have, the tight-knit community, where your teachers know you by name and you're not taught at an auditorium. I think those are all great things that we have and great things we can continue to build on going forward.
Thank you. Matt, why did you choose to attend the University of Richmond?
I came to the University of Richmond my junior year on a whim. I visited, I had a friend who was here, and he said, you know what, I know you're driving throughout the area, why don't you stop by for lunch? Almost the sole reason that I'm here at the University of Richmond is the Cuban sandwich at Passport Cafe. I came, I stayed for maybe half an hour, I had a Cuban sandwich, and I decided, okay, I'm coming back as soon as I can. So next year, my senior year, I came back and I really looked into the school. I love the idea of the leadership school. I'm a proud Jepson student right now, and it has served wonders for my development and my character. The second thing, and this is super cheesy, but I say it to every single tour I give, it felt right. You walk on campus and you look at the lake and you see teachers walking around talking to students. You see people tabling and you get all excited. I heard one of the a cappella groups on campus, they were playing their CD, they were playing my favorite song, and I just knew immediately that it was right. But really that biggest thing for me was I could tell people were happy to be here. I walked on campus and you saw smiles, you saw people laughing, and it wasn't like you would expect it to be. People of different races, people that you wouldn't expect to be together were walking around laughing together, having the time of their lives. And that's something that I'm super proud about this university, and I'm really happy to be here because of it.
Thank you, gentlemen. We're actually going to change the formatting up just a little bit, so Matthew, you will actually be addressing this next question first. Our fifth question tonight, what would you say is your main goal for your potential presidency?
My main goal, and if you've been following my campaign at all, is to really bridge the gap between the people that are making decisions and the people that are being affected by those decisions. I think that this is an incredibly important time in our university administration with a new president and a new provost, and being able to really have the students concerned be heard by them to then influence the Board of Trustees. What I really hope to push forward is a communication directly from the students to the Board of Trustees. I attended a student government conference last year at Randolph-Macon, and one thing that they highlighted that was a best practice that they saw is their Board of Trustees actually had a single day where they sat down with students and allowed students to ask them questions. I think that there are plenty of people on this campus that could only name one single member of our Board of Trustees, and I think that that's truly a shame. I think that our Board of Trustees makes really impactful decisions, and in a lot of ways, they truly look out for the best interests of our students. But I think if one day you saw a Board of Trustee member sitting in D Hall with students asking them what they need, if you see them attending meetings, attending student government meetings, really getting a feel, that is really my main hope for my campaign, my year, is that I really want to bridge the gap between those who are affected by decisions and those that make the decisions.
All right, Mr. Suggs, what would you say is your main goal for your potential presidency?
I would say the main goal is continuing probably in about three major aspects. First off is that notion of one Richmond. I think that is a terrific campaign. One of the things that I've done ever since getting elected was to wear the University of Richmond seal along with my student government pin. That was just a great reminder of me, of remembering where I go ultimately, how I'm here in Richmond College Student Government, I'm here for the good of the school. So one of the things that I would love to do is take that One Richmond a little bit further. The next step is if this time next year, students are able to say, I actually know what my student government is doing, you guys are able to do some great things for us, transparency, that's the second one. And I think my friend Matt said it very well, in that we need to strengthen the connection that we have with the Board of Trustees. President Groves has already started on that. I would love to build upon his efforts with possibly having an open forum where members of the Board of Trustees would be able to come and field student questions, and hopefully if the other plan comes in place, you'll be able to watch it on your live feed while you're walking around campus.
Thank you. Going on to our sixth question, Angelo, you will be the first to respond to this one. What are your current plans for working with WCGA?
So I think many times, as someone who studies history, I'm realizing a lot of times that the past is indicative of the future. So I first would like to say I've already started working with WCGA. If you guys have been able to hear about some of the Meet Someone New campaign, which is diversity promotion program, we got some of the posters up there in the Commons. They're seeming to slip away one by one. But I was working alongside Mia Haggerty of West Hampton College Student Government in that initiative. I think also when you think of the type of power and strength that West Hampton College Student Government has, I think they can assist us in this effort of literally forming a One Richmond mentality. A notion that with all the different groups and barriers that seemingly may exist, that at the end of the day we are spiders. I'm excited for that possibility to work with West Hampton College Student Government on even more initiatives.
So I think that I've touched upon this already, but I think the biggest thing moving forward is creating a common vision. I've worked with WCGA the past 3 years and have really enjoyed that experience. We've really fostered more communication between the two bodies. But the biggest thing in me moving forward is I have a really great relationship with the WCGA soon-to-be president. She's running unelected, but Olivia Carahan and I have already discussed moving forward what we want our common vision to be, what we want to really present to the president, and how our two bodies, when united under a common vision, even if we have separate meetings and even if that workforce is separate, being able to unite under one vision and approaching it from two different directions, I think will work wonders moving forward. I've spoken with her about her commitment to truly approaching the president, approaching the provost, and we've discussed this whole topic of really bringing the Board of Trustees to the students. So I think moving forward, just my communication with the leaders in WCGA is going to be very valuable, and I also think my experience in working with them in the past will also serve well in this case. Thank you.
All right, Angelo, you have about 30 seconds left if you want to also continue to address that question.
I would just like to continue to point to the fact as well that it is an exciting time here at the university. I would like to mention that notion that working with West Hampton College Student Government, we've already been able to do that as well with some of the student forums that we've had. And I would like to see that step taken a little bit further to increase student attendance at those forums, but also just to help us in our vision of letting students know what their student government does. I think that's the place where you start, to know what type of solutions what type of solutions you can have. I think you have to know the power and capacity of the government who you seek to solve them.
And Mr. Logan, you have about 10 seconds if you'd like to continue.
That's all right, thank you.
All right, moving to our seventh question. Matthew will be the first to address this one. If elected president, could you, or how would you balance your multiple time commitments?
So, as you know, I'm heavily involved on campus. It's something that I've highlighted thoroughly throughout my campaign. I spoke to it tonight. And I think that only shows how great my time management skills are. I maintain a great academic standard in line with all of the other commitments that I have. And since day one of being on this campus, I knew that this was a position that I was seeking. I knew going abroad that I was going to come back and I was going to have a little bit of a lighter load academically so I could make room for this. And I knew and had planned going forward that I will have the tools to do this, but also the time to do it. So in looking forward, I actually have very little credits that I need to fulfill in order to graduate. So my load next year entirely is very light. I really am committing to this fully, wholeheartedly. This is something that I've wanted from day one and will be of the utmost priority to me.
All right, Angelo, you have a minute and a half to address, if you are elected president, could you or how would you balance your multiple time commitments?
So this semester is interesting. I have full classes 5 times a day, 5 days of the week, with 2 labs added on to that. And you guys know those labs are a course within themselves. I've been working to get a petition signed for that with one of the students over at Gottwald already. So in balancing that, I've been able to coordinate the first ever Martin Luther King Jr. RCSGA video, which goes along with the mission one of the missions that President Groves had from day one was, guys, increase some of the diversity that we represent on campus. So that was one of the things I've been able to do. Also, working on that Meet Someone New campaign with Mia Haggerty has been a joy. But here's the rub, so to speak. I've already finished all of my credits for political science major, and I've worked over the summer in some summer courses. So I literally have so much freedom in my course next year that I can take class 2 days a week. It would be pretty packed, 4 classes. And that would devote the rest of my remaining time to being able to serve you guys and go full-fledged on something like this.
Matt, you have about 30 seconds remaining if you'd like to speak further.
That's all right, thank you.
All right, moving on to our final prepared question. I believe, Matt, you were going to address this one second. So, Angelo, you ready?
Sure.
Want to make sure you're paying attention.
All right.
All right, so talk about your leadership experience and qualifications and why you are the right candidate to become the president of the RCSGA.
Sure. I would love to address that question. If you didn't hear, the question was, why would I be a good leader for Richmond College student government? So some of the different organizations that I've been a part of represent some of the different aspects of what it means to be a student life, a student here at the University of Richmond, excuse me. I've been a part of the Vision team. I was the youngest member of the Vision team at IV, helping to just craft some of the different events and things that they do, and I have experience there working and guiding a vision. I would also say being in Oliver Hill, which is a club that is entirely dedicated to spreading the notion of one Richmond and being a multicultural campus. I believe I can speak to that need for diversity. But also, I think, just look at some of the things that I've been able to do as a senator. There's the tactile things, which I mentioned earlier, and the initiatives which I'm already working on. But I would also say some of the less tactile things. When after you're in your first year in Senate, after the first couple of meetings, you have fellow senators who come in and tell you, you know, Angelo, you're changing the culture around here. You're making it a brighter place. That means a lot to have senators who come and tell you that. I bring a little joy each week on my end. So that's the less tactile, and I've told you guys about the tactile areas of leadership as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Matthew, talk about your leadership experience and qualifications and why you are the right candidate to become the president of the Richmond College Student Government Association.
So I think that the 3 biggest qualifications in terms of my leadership experience that I want to highlight, I've served as our class chair for 3 years running. So I know what it's like to work within that organization. I've had Evan Harris, Brad Groves, Patrick Love serve as mentors for me for day one. And I've really looked up to them and really look up to what they're doing and know that I can further their vision as well. The second thing is I serve as our VP of Programming for Spider Board, which is our campus-wide programming board. And through that, I've learned a ton about programming events, which I think is something that's very pertinent to this campus right now. As we look forward, everybody calls for concerts, comedians, stuff like that. And so it's really, really valuable having that experience and knowing how those things operate and how to progress those. I served as in a kind of an advisory role to Bobby during the whole homecoming concert planning process, and really like to think that that was a big contribution in that way. The third thing, and I'm going to reach back a couple years, I was student body president in my high school. So I have experience in this position, or position like it. And of course it's different, because nothing could ever compare to the University of Richmond. But I have experience in leading the entire school and really unifying the school under one umbrella and one vision. Next, I want to highlight just my personal abilities to lead an organization. I believe that, as I've stated, and I'm sorry to beat a dead horse, I believe that I'm someone that can move a room. I believe that I can get in a room with superiors and really make an effort to display what I need. Thanks.
All right, gentlemen, that will end our prepared questions. Before we move on to questions that can be addressed to you from the audience, I just want to make a plug for both of you. As you know, the election is tomorrow. That's Tuesday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. In order to vote, you need to go to www.s/vote. That's www.s/vote on campus computers. And you will be able to cast your vote between the hours of 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. tomorrow. I'm sure both candidates will make a plug for that at the end of tonight's debate, but I want to make sure that you've all heard it from me first. So now, at this point, we are going to move on to questions from the audience. So if anyone has a question for either of the two presidential candidates, could you please stand? And we will address you at the order in which that you stand, and your question will be heard. You may also choose which candidate you would like to address your question first.
Gentlemen, thank you for debating, and I'm really looking forward to see the results of this evening already in the Senate and but I have a question that both of you probably already know. But what is your personal brand, and how do you use that brand will fit with the brand of RCSGA?
All right, so I believe that we are on Matthew for responding first. What is your personal brand, and how will that brand fit with RCSGA?
So, I'm going to plagiarize a little bit here. I hope that's okay. In lining with the Richmond College vision, I really align myself with the brand of positive masculinity. I really like to serve not only in leadership roles and kind of furthering a vision in that way, but I really like to say that I am a true character and a true gentleman that operates on this campus. I try and say hi to everybody I meet. I really go out of my way to help my peers, whether that's extracurricularly, academically. I really make an effort to make sure that this university is as inclusive and as big of a community as possible. So it may not be very original, but I really truly think that I strive day in and day out to really be this positive image of masculinity. I try to serve as a role model to younger people as well as older people. And I really look to not only be a leader in the classroom and extracurriculars, but also be a leader in character, and I think that that's something super important.
Angelo, if you could also please address that question. What is your personal brand, and how will it fit in with the RCSGA?
So, that's a great question. One of the main things in the Student Government Constitution, it talks about the role of student government being boiled down to three major principles. And they're honor, duty, and integrity. With the notion of honor, I believe that one of the things that I've felt the need to do is I've always been the type to go and encourage those who would consider the least of these on campus. I believe that everybody here at UR plays their role. When we get that award of being a top 20 most beautiful campuses in the nation, I go up and I thank the different custodians and the different maintenance workers. They know me by name. I've attended some of their places of worship with them. I've also had a bite with them off campus just to get to know them. You might even find me, when the snow first came out there shoveling with them, getting to know their names. So that's been just a great joy of mine. So with that notion of duty as well, I believe that sometimes you got to take the hard jobs. If you guys enjoyed that Sammy Adams concert, I hope you did, and I'm glad many of you did. I intentionally took the job that very few people signed up for, which was after the concert, to go and to clean up some of the stuff that was left. And if you guys had lodge cleanup duty, you know it's not the most glamorous of jobs. But hey, I'm willing to do that for as long as I knew that that night you guys had a great time. And integrity. I would just like to say that I've been an open book with that notion of transparency. I'm someone who I'll encourage students through their most toughest of times.
All right, any other questions from the audience for our two candidates?
So I just wanted to ask, and it's for both of them. I just want to ask, given that there are all kinds of different groups on campus, everything from like musical groups, performing groups, to political groups, and issue activists, what kind of outreach would you do with these groups? Kind of get in contact with them, or anything like that? Are you going to understand what they're going for and what they want? You know, some kind of connection between student government and these various different groups on campus.
All right, so let's turn to Angelo first to address that question. How will you reach out to the various student groups on campus and be able to incorporate them into your vision as a member and president of the RCSGA?
So one of the things that I would say I've been able to do with the different groups on campus within student government, which I think is the first step, going back to that notion of you have to look at what someone says they're going to do, look at what they have done. With student government, when different groups come to present, on my end, I've helped to create a culture that we're here to serve. There was kind of a notion going around that when different groups came to ask for funding, that they were somehow beholden to us. I make sure to look every presenter in the eye and tell them thank you for coming, that we're here to serve the student groups. With the Super Smash Club, some of you guys see them out there. I actually personally walked them through that SOBAC process because they were wondering about their funding. Also, outside of just those various reasons, I think with anything, when we're really talking about building that notion of people knowing what their student government can and can't do, and stretching our arm on campus to be there for the good of the students, I think it goes back to what I've done just throughout this week. In this entire process, I've gone to various student groups, Greeks and non-Greeks, and just listen. I think that's the best thing that somebody first off can do that's running to represent the entire student body. You've heard my ideas, but I think the best thing I can do before talk is to listen, and then in listening, implement what you all have said. We're a student government. That's the adjective, student government.
Thank you, Angelo.
Do you mind just repeating your question so I can make sure I thoroughly answer it?
I believe the question posed was how will you, as the president of RCSGA, outreach to the different various student groups on campus and how you will incorporate them in your mission as the president of the Richmond College Student Government Association?
So first and foremost, I truly believe that I represent a bunch of these different pockets of campus. I'm involved in the performing arts by singing in an a cappella group. I'm involved with athletics by playing on the club soccer team. I'm a tour guide, I'm an on-campus employee, and I'm a member of Greek Life. So I really feel like I have outreach just by being a member of those different organizations. The second thing is, and I spoke briefly about this, is implementing a new position in which we have a specific person who's designated for campus outreach. Someone who reaches out to the different pockets on campus, who talks to organization presidents and gathers that information in so we can blast it back out, making sure that there's a cohesive newsletter that really states what these individuals are doing, what these organizations are doing, and that also allows them to come back to us and talk to us about what they need. The third thing, and I also briefly touched upon this, is inviting 5 new members to our meetings every single week. And doing this, I'm going to really try and diversify the people that come to our meetings that know what we're doing, and also diversify who has a voice in our meetings. So by targeting different pockets of groups and having them come and sit in on our meetings, I really truly think that they will voice their opinions and they'll share that with their peers. They'll come in, they'll enjoy the meeting because they truly are awesome to sit in on. We get loads and loads of really great information, and I think that will disseminate out quickly.
Yes, Angelo, you had about 10 seconds.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right, so my friend Matt made a great point about having a position that's designed to go with outreach. But my only thing is, why not create that culture to where every senator, all 33 of us, why limit it to one? Why not every senator go out and represent the students? And the president as well.
Thank you, Angelo. You had about 5 seconds if you want to respond to that.
I'll leave it. No point in rushing.
Any other questions from the audience at this time?
Tim.
So, President Love and now President Grove, they worked tirelessly on this initiative to put students on prestige. The particular conflict with that, where do you foresee in your tenure as president, what will you do to further this goal of transparency and this initiative? Where will you take that?
All right, Matthew. I believe that Matthew is the first one to address the question as to, as the president, how will you continue the legacy of your 2 predecessors who have worked in order to put a student on the Board of Trustees? And how will that factor into the transparency and further development of community interaction with the RCSGA?
Yeah, absolutely. Tim, thanks for that question. So first and foremost, that's part of my main focus in running and looking forward to next year. I've spoken on it briefly again, but the idea is that I want to make sure that in conversations with the president and the provost, that they know our main focus is connecting the Board of Trustees with our students specifically. I talked briefly about a summit that I went to regarding how to connect Board of Trustee members to those students, and think that I have some creative, innovative ideas to really bridge that gap. Second thing that I really would like to highlight is I was a part of that process throughout the entire way. It really all stemmed from the sports mix-up decision. I was involved from day one, hopping in on that, and looking at what that looks like, how we can reach out to the Board of Trustees, the president, and what avenues we need to go through in order to do that appropriately. So I was involved in every step of that, in that sense. And so I think that I'm truly in a great position to pick up where they left off. We have moved forward a bunch, and we're continuing to push to make sure that the Board of Trustees knows that this is one of our issues and this is one of our visions moving forward, is to make sure that there is this transparency and there is this connection between students and the people that are making those decisions.
Right. Angelo, how will you continue the legacy of your two predecessors in getting a student to be placed onto the Board of Trustees, as well as to develop the transparency that is desired between the community and the RCSGA?
So I would definitely have to congratulate President Love and then also President Groves for even getting us to the point where now we have greater student representatives with the Board of Trustees. And that entire selection process for the new president, Richmond College Student Government had a student in the student group that was up there and had a say in that process and relaying that information to the students. So I would say that's something we're building on. When working with the Board of Trustees, one of the things that I would like to have, as I mentioned before, is to bring them here. Have an open forum to where the students can come and address them, civilly of course, and that they will field our questions as well. Also, I would say, working with the Board of Trustees and transparency in general, one of the things that I've always believed is that constant communication. As I mentioned, I said I was going to do a weekly update when I got elected last year as senator. The day after, I had to start off that first classic video. Many of you have heard it. Hey everybody, this is Senator Angelo Suggs with a weekly update. 35 videos later, 4 more hours of footage. But let's keep that up with weekly publications in the Collegian. I've written about my campaign in the Collegian, which you all can check out. And also, I've already spoke to Allison Keller, who's the head of the Center for Student Involvement, and she's going to dedicate a board to student government information, a bulletin board, right here in the Commons. Taking the 50 ducks, the horse-sized ducks. I'll go ahead and take, what was it, the first one?
Either a horse-sized duck or 50 duck-sized horses.
I'll take the horse-sized duck. It's one of them. I feel like I can ride them, saddle them, do something. I'm not taking the 50, opponents. So if that answers your question. I feel the need to somehow twist that politically. Guys, we have many problems that we need to face, but I want to focus on one.
All right, Matthew, would you rather fight a horse-sized duck or 50 duck-sized horses?
I'm gonna go with the 50 duck-sized horses, and I'll tell you why. There is disorganization in numbers. So without a true leader to really get those 50 duck-sized horses behind and my soccer playing ability, I truly think that those suckers will get punted out just immediately. So.
Thank you, gentlemen. Well, on that lighter note, that concludes the questioning phase of the debate.